I look over and you're like, hi everyone. Welcome back to the Apartment 6 podcast or like whatever. Just kidding. Welcome back.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, who even cares? Hi, welcome back. My name is Jess.
My name is Marissa.
Yep. It's Marissa. Can confirm.
Shout out to the OGs who remember
And I'm Marissa.
the time that I did it weird as hell. I feel like I've never done it perfectly, and so every single time I'm always like, Marissa.
You always think of a weird way to do it.
Marissa. Like I'm not confident. Anyway.
I'm Marissa. That's how it sounded in my mind, but it may not have sounded like that. Oh my gosh. All right. So let's just, well, first of all, this episode is gonna be all about getting over someone. Not a specific someone, but just like situations that we've been in where we've had to get over someone. Whether it's been like, it sounds so hard. I sound like I'm like ready to fight someone. My bad. Anyway, so
my eyebrows itchy.
I know you were complaining about that.
Everybody, my eyebrows itchy.
That's your thorn.
I need to speak it out loud.
Well, speak into existence that your eyebrows not itchy.
Oh, true. Set the intention. What a weird part of your body to be itchy. Am I okay? Like, what?
I don't know why they would be. You haven't like gotten them done or anything. Maybe they're growing.
No.
You know how like when like hair. Wait, actually, your
No,
hair
I
grows
know
on your
it-
head and it doesn't itch. But
I
like,
know what you mean, though.
like a sign of healing, a sign of growing. Like
I
things
don't
are
know.
stimulated. Your eyebrows are stimulated.
It's very odd. Like, it's really weird to have to itch your eyebrows. Anyway, sorry. I need to get over itching my eyebrows.
Stop derailing me.
Speaking of getting over, I need to get over it.
I didn't catch that the first time, so I'm glad you like repeated it that way. Yeah, so we're talking about getting over heartbreak, getting over flirtationships, if you
Crutches.
will. We're talking about getting over crushes that are, short-lived, long-lived.
All
things like
matters
that.
of the heart.
Yeah, but first, let's dive into our roses and thorns. Marissa, what's your thorn of the week?
My thorn is just that I was on a good kick of walking every day during lunch because, as I've told the pod, I was like finding a good rhythm of walking every day at lunch. And then we got a ton of snow and that derailed me. So this week I only walked like, I think once. So
Failure.
sad. That's how I feel. No, but it stinks because I'm the type of person where like I like getting into a routine, and like once I'm in it, I'm good at keeping it up. But once something derails me from it, I'm like, oh,
It's hard to
crap.
get back into it.
Yeah, so that's going to be like my challenge this week is like getting back into it. But actually, we're supposed to get more snow tomorrow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Today is Saturday while we're recording. So yeah, maybe maybe I'll be derailed even further, but yeah, that's my thorn. No walkies this week. Sad. What's your thorn?
I don't have a thorn this week. You know what?
Sad.
I was just saying to Marissa, I was like, it's not that everything's like fabulous. It's not that my life is great or anything. But nothing's new really. Like I had some more restless sleeping at nights. But that's not new. I say as I yawn. I wish I could like stop that. Like stop yawning during the podcast. But I just like talking makes me yawn. Sorry. But yeah, I don't have a thorn. Nothing bad happened this week. Now I feel like I need to knock on the wood behind me. And my mood was level this week. Work was level this week. Just like everything was just mild. So no thorn on my end.
Sad.
Boo me. I'm the best.
Oh my God.
No. What's your rose?
My rose is that inspired by last week's episode where we were talking about wanting to learn languages and be better with more languages, I picked up my Duolingo app for the first time in years.
I heard you doing. Oh, I actually didn't hear you doing it.
Yeah.
I heard the bing.
Yeah, because I was getting everything right, baby.
Yeah, and I was like, "What the hell is that binging noise?" And then
Yeah.
I was on my way to the bathroom. I looked in Marissa's room and she's binging.
I'm languaging. Yeah, I downloaded it in college, maybe like sophomore year, and then really fell off the wagon. But then this week I was like, you know what? I'm going to download Duolingo again. So the language I'm doing is Portuguese. And
A Portuguese queen.
yeah, I'm trying to be. I talked to my Vavo and Vavu on the phone today because it's their 54th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, and every time I talk to them, I like speak a tiny, tiny bit of Portuguese because they're always like, "Are you learning Portuguese? Do you know Portuguese by now?" And I'm like, I say back to them in Portuguese that like I know a little. So I don't know. Every time I talk to them, I'm like reminded of how much I wish I could just speak to them in Portuguese. So Duolingo, getting it done.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, that's my rose of the week. What is yours?
Mine, I'm kind of doing what you did last week and cheating a little bit and going a little bit further back. But it's also relevant to this week. I started going to therapy again. And so I had my second session this week. So less of an introductory session with like doing paperwork over the phone, because that's how we're doing our sessions, and more of like actually getting to chat. And yeah, that's it. It's been good. And I'm glad to be back at it. And I feel like I realized that it was a good thing when I was like looking forward to it for the week. Like I like started my week being like, yeah, I got therapy on Wednesday. So that was a rose of this week.
Nice.
The people are dying to know what happened in your relationship.
No, they're
that
not.
You brought up last week.
No, they're not.
So, Marissa, are you ready to talk about your getting over
Start
your crush?
Engines. Rev, 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 rev. We're going on a love journey.
Yeah. Is that the beginning of Love Shack?
No.
Oh.
There's some
I'll
talking.
hop in the car and then
Yeah.
I don't remember how that's like.
Then I go to the end.
But don't they say something at the beginning of
15
it?
miles to the left.
Oh my god, you like know it. I feel like they say something like that at the beginning though, where they're like,
yeah. It might be like we hop in the car. Anyway, yes.
Yeah,
I'm stalling because I'm feeling wistful and sensitive from my past romances.
Are you really?
No. Well, sort of. It's a vulnerable topic.
No. Well, okay, sort of.
But you know, we're gonna dive into
Tell us a story.
some tough stuff. Yeah, so I would say for me the biggest situation that comes to mind for needing to get over someone was the case that I kind of talked about last week when it was the answer to what was the stupidest thing I've ever done. And I had said that the stupidest thing I ever did was sustain a crush on a guy friend. So what came after that stupid decision was having to get over it. So yeah, I feel like the classic example of like needing to get over someone is like maybe you weren't friends first and you just like were in this relationship or whatever, or like unrequited love, and it's just like the person existed to you solely as like a romantic interest.
Yeah.
But I feel like my example is like a little more unique because I had a crush on this guy who was my best guy friend at the time, and the crush, these are like details that I don't know if I should share, but basically this guy was in a relationship when I first became friends with him.
Mm-hmm.
So when I met him, I was kind of like, he's my type and he's really nice and I like him, but he's off limits, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah, you didn't even like see him. Like you didn't think of him
Yeah.
as being like.
I think maybe deep down I was like starting to form a crush, but I never said that to myself or like realized it because it just didn't matter.
Well, and you were forming a friendship too, so it's kind of just like, oh, like I'm just like falling into a best friendship with this person, not like
Yeah.
into a relationship. Like that was what you were doing. Your aim wasn't to like get with him.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely like friends first situation. And then they were broke. I don't remember who broke up with who. It doesn't matter. But they became broken up from their significant other and were then single. And I think that's kind of when the realization kicked in for me that I was like, oh, I do be liking this person. And the whole course of this crush was very tumultuous. It was very invested. Some may say I was in love.
Me, I'm some.
I experienced a lot of like jealousy and some like clinginess, and just some ickiness. And then I finally told them after like, I guess like a couple of years roughly,
Of knowing that.
of knowing them. Yeah. And like deep down, yeah, probably having a crush on them.
It was like spring and sophomore year, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. But so, I told them, and because I needed to rip the Band-Aid off, and they said, I don't like you like that, Marissa.
I'm Martha.
This is me laughing at trauma. But yeah, they said, I don't like you like that. And I deep down knew that that was true. And so, from that moment where the Band-Aid was ripped off, I was kind of like, okay, let's begin the process of like fixing this and like making it the least awkward it can be, because like, that's like a textbook awkward situation.
Yeah.
Like you tell someone that you like them and then they're like, I don't.
Especially when you're best friends.
Yeah. So then it was like, because I valued this person in other ways besides the romantic way, I still wanted to keep up a relationship with them and a friendship with them. So it was this weird balance of like getting over the crush but working on the friendship at the same time, and being like embarrassed and feeling awkward. So yeah, that was like for me kind of like the weirdest and hardest getting over someone situation.
If you could go back, would you do anything differently? Like, for example, like would you have tried to like not tell them, that's not what I mean, but like you maintained like a very close friendship with them after. Do you feel like that was like hard? Like if you could go back, would you have distanced yourself?
Yeah, well, so what made it extra tough is that like because we were such good friends, we had already been talking about, and maybe at this point had already made arrangements to live together the next year of college.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you'd want to say that.
No, I don't mind. They definitely know who they are. And anyone who like was friends with me at that time, or good friends with me at that time, would also easily know who they are.
Yeah.
But yes, that's like a whole other awkward thing, is like we were going to live together.
With moi.
With Jessica, yeah.
And our good friend Kareen.
Yes.
Kareen, we love you.
Oh my God, we do. So yeah,
Kareen's like, don't drag me into this.
Oh, it was so messy. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Like, what do I regret anything? Would I have done anything differently? And honestly, I don't think I possibly could have.
Yeah.
Like, I think everything that I did and the way I handled every step of that situation was so like involuntary almost. Like, I feel like falling for them was involuntary, and then by the time I confessed that to them, it was like I had to do it because it had been going on for too long. So it's like there was no other option but to tell them. And then because we were living together and we're like in these situations that tied us together, and because I still valued the friendship, it was like involuntary to stay friends with them. Mm-hmm. So every part of it felt like it was just like destined to be that way. But it's interesting because like someone I follow on Instagram put up like a question box the other day for people to like confess stuff or whatever, and someone was like, I'm in love with my best guy friend, should I tell them? And it just made me think like, given that I went through that, would I tell someone else to do what I did? And even though it like hurt to have to rip the Band-Aid off and be like, okay, I need to get over this crush because it's not going to happen, I feel like you have to do it. You have to be honest. You have to rip the Band-Aid off, because otherwise you're going to either ruin the friendship by withholding or be miserable.
Yeah, well, it's hard because I think like when it comes to liking a friend, if you think that they could like you back, like you're not sure and you're kind of leaning towards like, no, I don't think they do, because they haven't given me any indication, like they don't flirt with me, whatever. If like you don't think so but you don't technically know, it's like you have to tell them, like if you know for sure that they don't like you back in that way, then like maybe you just decide like, okay, I'm gonna get over this without telling them. Yeah, but I don't think you can get over it until you know for sure that there's no hope. Because I think like that's what keeps me like stuck in something, is feeling like I haven't like resolved all the options. Like I haven't tried every, like if it's a relationship, it's like tried all the things you can to fix it. Or if it's like a crush, like making sure that you know that like it's not going to happen because it's not reciprocated. Like it's like there's certain like knowledge points you have to hit, that you have to be like, yeah, this is exhausted. Like I've exhausted every option. Like I like them, they don't like me back. Or like they like me, I don't like them back. Or we keep having the same fight and we've already tried to fix it. Or, you know, it's like you need to like flesh it out. And I feel like you just like needed to do that. But like what other tips or what things did you learn about like getting over a friend? Like what if you were to fall into that situation again, like are there certain things that you took away from that you would bring forward? I'm putting you on the spot, I know.
I guess it's a situation that feels impossible or sounds impossible, to like be in love with a friend and then have them not reciprocate and then just continue being friends. Like it sounds like it's not possible, but it was for me and in this situation. So I feel like if that's the thing that's holding you back from like taking action on it, and you're afraid that like if you do tell them that will instantly ruin the friendship, at least in my case, like that wasn't true, because I actively like tried to work on it and try not to make it awkward. So I guess
and I think they did a good job of that too.
Yeah, that's like true.
Being sensitive to your feelings.
It takes both parties. But then it's like you learn things about yourself and about them along the way. Like the fact that we could remain friends meant that like we really did care about each other.
Yeah, like you didn't become friends with them thinking that you were going to end up in a relationship. You became friends with them for them.
Yeah, so I don't know, it's like specific advice to this situation, but I just like, I wouldn't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game, you know?
No, I think that's like good advice, because I think everyone is always like, I don't want to ruin the friendship. Yeah. Whether it's like they decide to like tell the person they like them or whatever. And it's like, it doesn't automatically mean that it has to ruin the friendship.
Yeah. And even like something interesting is like, even if you have a crush on someone or dated someone or whatever, who maybe you weren't friends first, but you date them or you have a crush on them, and then something causes that to end, whether it's like them not reciprocating the crush or you break up or something, it's also possible that like you can be connected to them in a different way. Yeah. 'Cause like, I don't know, I just feel like you know, there are all different types of soulmates and all different types of ways that we can be connected to people. So I don't know, you might find that like you're really drawn to someone and maybe you interpret that as a crush and then it doesn't work out and it was meant to be a friendship or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So something that's hard and that we also want to touch on is like the idea of having to get over the idea of someone rather than like the person themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like you have an example of this. I also have an example of this that's like kind of fresh, but I guess like what I would say is like what I've experienced recently is wondering like if the feelings I have for someone are partially born out of like romanticizing what could be and how I see them in my head. And like I've wondered like like maybe I am romanticizing this. Like maybe I have really strong feelings for this person and that's making me think that everything they do is so great and it's making me overlook the ways that they've hurt me or the ways that they've mistreated me. And so I feel like sometimes you can simultaneously be getting over the person in the relationship and also be like getting over whatever future you thought you were going to have with them. You know, like when you really like someone, you start to like jump ahead of yourself. Like you start to fantasize about like your future with them, even if it's not like we're gonna grow old together. Like it's literally, it can be like I can't wait
a fun
until,
date idea.
Yeah, like I can't wait until we do this together. Or you know, ooh, I really want to introduce them to this person. Like I think they'll get along so well. Like you just start thinking about like the ways that you want to integrate this person into your life and how you're gonna look in their life and what you're gonna look like in photos together. Like, you like all those
what your kids might look like.
All those silly little things. And I think like I've experienced and am experiencing the loss of that right now and like the fantasy version of someone that I care deeply about. And I do it, like I said, like at least like in my case right now, like I don't feel like it's me saying that means that I don't care about that person as much as I think that I do, but it's just that there's another layer to it. There's this thing that's making me not only see them for who they are, but see us for what we could be. And that's hard because when you break up with someone, you don't get to get that future with them. But so if that's the thing that's keeping you not getting over them, like that's really hard because that's not something you can put concrete evidence to. Like you can't say like, you know what I mean?
It's not tangible. Yeah.
Right. Like you can't be like, I'm going to really miss that about them, but you know what? This is for the best. It's like you think like, yeah, but what if it could have been this way?
The what
if
if.
you just try
Yeah.
Right. It's the what if. So it's like,
totally.
It's not just like, oh, I miss them for this. It's like, but if I had stuck it out longer, if things had looked different, maybe it could have been this. And
exactly.
That's so hard to get over.
Yeah. It's like, because you're trying to get over the positive what ifs, like the what if we could have gone on this date, or what if they could have met my friends, or what if we could have had this anniversary together, or whatever, like all those what ifs, it makes you come up with like negative what ifs where you're like, what if I had been more, or like what if I had been better for them, or
what if I hadn't said this one thing, or what if I didn't, what if they misinterpreted what I said,
like what if I was like more attractive to them, or what if I did this differently. Like those types of what ifs stem from the other ones.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true, because I think when you start picturing your future and you start being like, well, like what if this could have happened, you're like, what caused it to not happen that way? And then you're like, what if it was me?
Yeah, so you're like, if I did this differently, would that future have happened?
Right. I also think what's hard is like, I think that we just like want answers to things. So if we think like, my future with this person could have looked like this, but it's not, and I'm sad about that, you're gonna try to like problem solve. Well, how do I get that in the future though? And then you're like, maybe, and because we want to feel like we're in control, we're like, well, maybe I could change, or maybe it's something I did. Well, let me try to figure out what I did, and then I can change it. And it's like, it just doesn't have, like, it's so not productive. But like, you guys, I told you I've had some restless nights, and like this is the kind of stuff that I've been up thinking about. And also, just like quick aside, if you're going through this right now, hi, I'm raising my hand. I am too, and I'm here for you, and I feel you, and it's gonna be okay. One day at a time, 1 hour at a time. You got this. I mean, I'm doing okay now, but it's the first few days and stuff are really hard. And if you are listening to this and you're in the first few days of a breakup or anything like that, I'm here for you. Yeah, that is really hard. Do you want to keep talking on that, or do you want to go to our next point?
Well, I feel like briefly, like our generation, I think, is prone to this a lot, like the idea of someone because of like dating apps.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so like something I'll admit is that like I don't tend to do this as much now, but I used to like talk to people for way too long.
Oh my God,
before meeting with them.
I harped on you for so long about it.
So when you do that, I had this situation happen to me last summer where I was like talking to someone for like maybe a couple months, honestly.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 months
of just texting.
Yeah. Which because of the pandemic, fair.
Yeah. But I've done that even in pre-pandemic times.
You have.
And I would just say, don't do that. Mm-hmm. Because honestly, that's what really makes you get your hopes up and form that idea of this person. And then, you know, they could turn out to not match up to that, or your dynamic could not be that, or, you know, anytime you're like building things up in your head, it's very possible that it won't happen.
Yeah.
So I just think
I know that
the longer you let yourself do that, the harder it is to get over it. But the last thing I'll say on this point is that like I do think that something that helps with that is like recognizing which things are coming up, like which thoughts are coming up in your head because of the idea of them versus who they actually were to you.
Yeah.
Then you can kind of, I mean, I'm always on my like visualize your thoughts in a physical way high horse, but
yeah.
Then you can kind of like, you know, swipe one way for the idealized thing and then the other way for the real thing, and then just like kind of compartmentalize them and like, you know, put the ideas in a place where it's like they were only ever ideas.
Yeah.
And then the real things are like, those are the cold hard facts of it.
Yeah, like if you were like fantasizing about this amazing relationship that you were going to have with someone where they're going to, you know, bring you breakfast in bed and you're going to have sex all night or whatever. Like if that's what you're like thinking, think about like, did you actually get any of those things?
Right.
And if the answer is no, then like, why do you think you're going to get that in the future with them? And like,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like
yeah, we use the word idealized for a reason, because it's like ideas are not always reality.
Right.
They're
like
idealized.
sometimes you have to remember what it is about that. Like, why did you end up here with that person? You know, was it because like maybe it was just that you know, liked them and they didn't like you back, and it's like remember that there was if they don't like you back, you were never gonna get that future with them, and so like leave it there and say like, oh, why do I even want this person who doesn't like me back? Or why do I want this person who told me that they liked me back and then ghosted me? And, you know, like, think
or
about...
broke up with me.
Yeah, instead of idealizing them and being like, but it could have been this way, it's like, but it's not, and think about why. Because the reason why is exactly why you don't want to have those positive thoughts about them in the first place. Moving on to another point, you guys were literally reading off, like, bullet points. Because we got, like, this is... You know, we're a half hour in and we've got topics to get to.
Yeah.
So there's a phrase, you might know it. My mom referenced it to me recently, to which I was like, excuse me, ma'am.
Salacious.
But the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. Now, ma'am, sir,
ma'am,
they, them, let's speak.
I'm blushing.
I actually have no idea. I think this is true. But my worry with this, I do feel like I'm someone who I don't fully get over. If I really liked someone, if I really deeply cared about them, I don't get over them until I start liking someone new. It's not about like physically being with someone new. It's not the, like, I know this is getting at like sex, but like it's like not that at all. Like for me, it's like I stop liking someone else when I start to like someone new. But what I worry about and what I have worried about in past situations is whether it's just like transference. So like I've just like transferred my feelings from one person onto the other person, but they're not the same person. And
yeah, because they're like unresolved with the first, so it's like they're left over and then they get pushed to the next.
Yes, exactly. So then like the next time someone treats you well, you're just like, oh my gosh,
you like unload them.
And you like put all the feelings that you had, you put them on this person, and you're just like, oh, like we're getting along well and they treat me nice. And
I want somewhere to put these feelings.
And I want somewhere to put these feelings. So let me just like transfer them onto this person. And I know that that's happened to me before, and I know that I've stayed with a couple people for a little too long, maybe because I like transferred feelings onto them from something that felt really unresolved and really unfinished, but that I couldn't go back to anymore, because at that point it was like I wasn't talking to the person. It wasn't a good situation. It wasn't a healthy situation. So, that's hard, but it's real. And I wish I had like some advice on this topic, but I think like just staying aware of it maybe and
not being ashamed of it.
Yeah, it's natural.
It's natural, yeah. Cuz I would say like I don't know if that's the best way to get over someone else, but I think it might be like the easiest way. Mm-hmm. But I would think maybe like
definitely the easiest, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the best way would probably be to, like find self-love and like feel independent and feel okay within yourself and give yourself those feelings and give yourself that love.
Yeah, whatever those things mean.
Exactly. But so like that would be like, the ideal nirvana state of getting over someone. But
that's what I'm trying to do right now, everyone.
Yeah, and that's hard. But
the thing is though, I already think that I come from I already feel like I'm in a really healthy place about myself and about my self-love. So when something goes astray with a relationship, I don't take it so personal. Like I do have the questions of like, is there something I could have done differently, or like why is this happening again, or whatever, but I don't think like, oh my god, I'm hopeless and worthless. Like I don't go to a dark place because I already do feel there. I'm able to say to myself, this is what I take ownership of. I could have been better about this. I could have done better here, or I could have communicated this better. But I'm very good, I think, about saying if this person has this ownership and not taking their shit with me. And so I just feel like often like something like I just had a breakup. It's like, I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to take some time to like get over that. But at the same time, like I still have a lot of self-love. So it's like, I don't even want to take the time, as I'm like, no, what I want is to be with someone. Like what I want is to have love and have romantic love and like grow on that. And so it just like, it almost feels like you're being set back, but you're like I still love myself. I still feel like I have love. I feel like I am fine single. It's just that I still don't want to be, because my ultimate goal is like to be with a partner and have a family and things like that. And so I'm just like, okay, this was a setback from the goal. Let's get back on the mission. And then it's like, but you're not supposed to do that. Like everyone tells you, no, you're supposed to take time.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to have self-love and you're supposed to do this and do that. And I feel like part of the reason that after my like long-term relationship ended at the end of college, I wanted to know what it was like to date, and I did. And then from there, I feel like I've had men like what's the word? I've had like partners come in and out like with regularity, I guess, not with like frequency. I haven't had like a lot of boyfriends or relationships or whatever, but it's like I have stayed actively in the dating game, regularly developing feelings, losing feelings, things like that. And I think part of it for me is just like I already have a good foundation and a good starting place, so I'm just kind of like out there looking for the thing that I want to look for. And I feel like that's not something that people talk about a ton. They just talk about it like, well, clearly you're hurting and you need to take some time off from dating because you just went through a breakup. And it's like, what about that is clear? Because that, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I do feel like there are a lot of people who it wouldn't necessarily be the healthiest thing for them to go into a relationship right away.
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know, I would just say, like, if you do come out of a relationship or a crush or whatever it is without a good level of self-love, and you feel like you can't bear to be alone and you need someone to fulfill you or whatever, I would like give yourself a chance first, because you might surprise yourself.
Yeah, I think that's really the key is like, do you feel like it's going to shatter your earth to be alone?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever felt like that after like a breakup or like having like a, you know, a flirtationship end, or after a few dates where I've caught feelings and the person has told me they don't want a girlfriend, like, and all these like random situations I've been in.
Fun times.
I feel like I've never been like, now I don't know what to, like, I never scramble to find the next guy because I'm afraid of being alone.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I know people in real life, to be honest, and like in the media. I know people in real life and like on TV shows and whatever that are that way and are like, oh my God, I can't be single. Like, I don't know. So I would just say if you are one of those people, then like give it a chance first.
Yeah, honor that feeling by trying to challenge yourself.
Yeah,
that's true. Is getting over someone a linear process? Or does it ebb and flow? I would say it ebbs and flows. Also, I'm like asking this like it's a question like one of you guys sent in, which we are going to answer questions, but that was just a question Marissa put in my question. I don't think it's linear at all.
I think it's almost like
maybe gradually it is.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty much that. Like the net gain is linear. Like overall, I think that there are setbacks, but you're still on an uphill climb.
Exactly. Yeah. I think no matter what, you're going up, but then there are like peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Is that what you would call that? I don't know. Mountain speak.
Yeah. No, yeah. And it's like, I feel like no matter what, you could unexpectedly have a moment where things are really tough all of a sudden, or something reminds you of a memory with someone and it's really hard for you. But
if you like see your ex, or if you think like today in the grocery store, I'll give you an example. I thought I saw, or it's not even that I thought I saw them. It's just that I saw someone who kind of looked like an ex's brother. And I was like, and had like the energy that I imagined this person would have. And I was like, I just had like this moment of like, my eyes like got kind of wide because I was like, they're not around, are they? And it just like kind of freaked me out. And it's just kind of weird how like little things like that, or like, you know, walking by a spot that you, little things like that will kind of like stop you in your tracks even months down the line.
Yeah. But what's cool is I also think that as you gradually incline in getting over someone, you also gradually decrease in the time you need to reset yourself when those moments do happen.
Yeah, the recovery time's faster.
Yeah, because like maybe within the first couple months of a tough breakup, you might have a moment that sets you back and you're like, oh no, I'm right back in the place I was before. Like, I don't know if I can get back from this. But then like maybe a year later, something will remind you of that person. And for like a minute, you'll be like, oh, that was a time. Like, that was a memory or whatever. And it just takes less time to reset from that.
I think it's two things. I think it's like after a while, not only is the like the depth of how much that thing, like that reminder of them bothers you, like becomes more shallow or something. Like it doesn't hurt as much when something reminds you of them. It's like it doesn't make you feel like you're falling off a cliff. It just kind of makes you feel like you took a little tumble. And then I had a better like way of saying this and then completely lost it as soon as I started speaking. But and when you tumble, it's like you recover faster because it's less of a a fall because it's just
Yeah.
a tumble. Yeah, you get the point. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's totally linear in terms of like, once you feel better about this aspect, you'll never feel bad about that aspect again.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just like things come up and sometimes we set ourselves back, and you know, we go through text messages, or we
Stalk
check
people
a
on social
Facebook,
media.
or we, you know, see something from their family all of a sudden, or someone asks you about them, and that's hard.
Yeah.
But overall, I agree. I think it's like you're moving upward.
Net gain positive.
But you might move downward first.
Yeah.
But then go upward. At some point,
Ebbs
there is
and
an
flows.
ebbs and flows. Then the last thing we wanted to touch on before we get into questions is just like feeling guilty or feeling weird, at the very least, about not feeling sad after a breakup. So I'm going to let you take this one first.
Okay, so I have only had one breakup in my life. But so basically I had my first like for real deal boyfriend after I graduated from college, and we dated for half a year ish, and throughout the whole time I would like have really good moments where I was like invested, and I was like, I really like this person. And I even like hit the point where I was like asking my mom, like, when did you know you were in love, mom? Like that type of mushy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had a lot of like negative moments where I was like doubting it, and I was like, do I even like this person enough? And I was also like, this is so new to me, like this feels so weird to be like somebody's girlfriend because I never have been. So like I was ebbing and flowing the entire time.
Yep.
And for the last honestly couple months of the relationship, I was kind of going back and forth about if I should end it. And I did do that. I ended it. And I felt really weird about the whole thing, honestly, because it was like, it was my first ever relationship. I was so happy to get in it, but then I had to do this evaluating where I was like, was I happy to be with this person and to have found this person, or was I happy to have the label of being in a relationship? So I was like doing that back and forth. And then at the end of it, I was like, why am I not that sad about this? Like, this is my first breakup. I should be sad, but I'm not. And does that make me a sociopath? Obviously not. But I just, yeah, it made me feel weird that I wasn't like broken up about the breakup.
Yeah, I think that's normal, because it's just like, I think I've talked about on the podcast before how like sometimes you resolve things in your head before they're physically resolved in real life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you know something's over, or you feel that it's heading there, and you sit with that feeling and you kind of gut check it, and you know, just try to grapple with it. And then when it actually happens, it's like not a shock to the system. It doesn't feel like a blindside. So you're just kind of like, okay. And also I think what you felt was just relief. I think like relief washed over you and kept you maybe from feeling in like the initial sadness.
Yeah, I think so too. And honestly, I think that like it's possible to feel a sense of relief even in a situation where you didn't necessarily initiate the ending of it.
Yeah.
And I guess that would be sort of my takeaway or advice, is like it is possible to be sad and relieved at the same time, and like have things about this person or this relationship that you might miss, but also you should honor if you feel relieved that certain things about it are in your past.
Yeah, like I want to give an example in case this helps anyone, but like with my most recent relationship, I didn't want it to end. I did initiate the ending, but I didn't want it to end. It was kind of a mutual breakup, but we both broke up with each other for different reasons, I guess, in the end. But I felt a lot of anxiety leading up to that because I had a feeling that it was coming. And so afterward, I felt all of the anxiety that I had was just replaced with sadness. But like it was interesting because I didn't feel any sort of anxiety in my body anymore and any sort of like worry about what ifs because I already knew what if and like the worst had already happened. So it was like I had like this tremendous relief replace my anxiety and just like give way to sadness. And I think like if you have anxiety, you probably really understand the feeling of relief that can come with having something be resolved. And that's fair. And it doesn't mean that I wanted that relationship to end or that I was unhappy with that person, but just that it was causing turmoil inside my mind. And more so than I even realized until it was over. And I couldn't help but realize that I didn't feel anxious anymore. Like I felt sad. I felt very, very sad, but I didn't feel anxious like physically anymore. Like I could eat again and I don't know. Whereas like when I was feeling really anxious, I just was like,
makes everything harder. Yeah.
But let's get into answering some questions from my friends.
Questions from listeners and friends.
All of our friends are listeners and all of our listeners are friends.
Damn.
All right. Hit us.
Question number 1. What songs or artists help you get by?
So I can answer for both of us when I say Taylor Swift.
Especially, I wish recent Taylor Swift was around when I was having to get over people. Like folklore, Evermore era.
Yeah. Just her lyrics resonate a lot. Also for me, the biggest name that comes up is Banks. Just some of her stuff. If We Were Made of Water, if you're feeling sad. Godless, if you're feeling mad. Till Now, if you're feeling pissed. Yeah. Do you have like one artist that it's like you feel like they just nail it with the breakup songs?
I honestly just feel like what helps me if I'm like in that situation is to just listen to music that makes me feel like me and like helps me center myself. And for me, that's classics. Joni Mitchell, Ingrid Michaelson. Got really into Phoebe this year. I would put her on that list now.
Yeah.
Mostly, actually, I think for both of us, like female artists.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of like, I don't want to listen to men.
Yeah. Also, Chelsea Cutler's How to Be Human album is a good breakup album.
Maggie Rogers.
Yep.
Muna. The Goyles.
Can exes be friends?
Sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think you can. I think here's my kind of not rule about it, but I feel like if you weren't friends before and you wouldn't have been friends, probably not. I think like if you have like a good foundation for friendship, then sure. But like if we like didn't run in the same circles, didn't really have like a ton of the same hobbies, but we like just like had a romantic interest in each other, and then we tried to force it, like it wouldn't happen organically. I guess.
Like
so
the ex that I was just talking about most recently in this episode, like we don't have common interests.
You never would have like found each other if it wasn't for dating
I wouldn't
app.
really want to be his friend. But in the case where I had a crush on my friend and then he wasn't an ex, but he was an ex crush, if you will, and we still had a good friendship after. So yeah. All right. Is it worth talking post breakup for 1, closure, 2, changing your mind, 3, to ask why you broke up, etc.?
I think so. Yeah, for like my most recent breakup, we like got together like a week after the like initial like breakup to just like talk things out in person and to be like, you know, here's what I've been thinking about and here's where I'm at and here's what I think we should do going forward and stuff like that. And it was really helpful. And sometimes you do like need time to get away from the initial incident.
Yeah. I just feel like you should honor whatever you feel you need. Like if you feel like talking to them again would be helpful, then ask for that and honor that. But I do think in some cases maybe it wouldn't help. Like if you had, I don't know, some kind of like toxic breakup and it really wouldn't be good for you to see that person again, then probably might be best to just like completely sever them from your life.
Also, I would give it like a time limit. Like, I don't think like a month later you should reach out to your ex and be like, why did we break up?
Yeah.
Like, at that point, if you haven't figured it out on your own, then like, you know what I mean? But like, kind of being like, we're breaking up and being like, let's just like give each other some space for a week and like actually talk about this breakup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's different. It's all like part of the OG incident kind of thing.
Yeah.
How do you decide whether a relationship was worth it for you? This is a really interesting question.
It's a doozy.
Because I've never thought, well, I think I have thought this, but I've never just like put it in plain black and white words. I think a relationship, okay, like I can speak to like being in a relationship, didn't really feel like a relationship, it's fine. That like didn't push me forward in any way, didn't ultimately really give me anything. I left feeling the exact same, like I am the exact same person I was, and that part of that's because it was like shorter. So I think like, was that worth it for me? Probably not, actually. I didn't have super strong feelings. I didn't learn anything about myself.
But would you also say that since you didn't have to invest too much of yourself in it, it wasn't much to be worth in the first place? Because I feel like the connotation of something being worth it is like you gave up something.
Yeah, it was
so
expensive.
Like, was it worth it to give that thing up? So it's like, if you were in a situation where you didn't really have to give anything up or exert yourself or invest yourself, then it's like worth it by means of not being spent.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just answer this question by saying that like it's worth it if you enjoyed your time in it and it pushed you forward and it was healthy. And
or conversely, it could be worth it if it was negative and you learned something from that.
Yeah, taught you, made your lesson.
Yeah, like gave you some red flags to look out for to protect yourself and your heart in the future.
Yeah.
So I kind of, maybe this is too optimistic of me, but I kind of feel like it's always worth it because you can always pick up something, whether it's positive or negative.
Yeah.
True. Are you pro avoiding the ex at parties or pro being mature and saying hi?
I'm personally pro not going to parties in the first place.
I stand with you.
I guess for me though, I would go up to them and say hi because it's not in my nature to not. And I also would just like, Marissa's like, I wouldn't go up and say hi to anyone.
I would not be at the party. I would not talk to anyone at the party.
I'm the type of person like I have maintained a good relationship with my first ex, so it's like if I saw him at a party, I'd be like, hello,
it's me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I think like if they didn't do you wrong, yeah, go up to them and say hi.
Yeah,
that
makes sense.
You had a good run, maybe. Sudden waves of grief months after breakup. Ooh, okay. I can speak to this a little bit in terms of I don't know that I had like a wave of grief after my first breakup where it's like I was, I all of a sudden had like a really bad week. Like when I think of a wave, I kind of think of something that well, ebbs and flows, kind of like something that comes crashing in and like takes a little while to recede.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have like bad moments. I had moments where all of a sudden it felt like kind of overwhelming. So one of those was that Christmas season just like saw a photo of him with his family and didn't expect it to bother me, but I was in Canada feeling really tired.
Set the scene.
And my Canadian travel buddy was asleep, and so I just like got in my feels about it a little bit. Like I was like, wow. It wasn't that I was all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, I miss him so much, like what the heck? But I was just like, whoa. I was with that family this time last year, and now I'm not. And like, oh my gosh, time moves so fast, and like, just like so much has happened. It was just like an overwhelming feeling of like, I looked at him in this photo and felt almost like I didn't recognize him anymore. Wave number 2 was, well, so we got together, me and this ex, and that
big wave.
That was a big wave. That was like, some of the things that he said to me were like surprising to me or kind of hurtful to me, or just like to hit like a sensitive spot in my body. And not that he wasn't nice to me, but it was just like, I don't know, like certain things he said, it like really surprised me, and I felt out of sorts for like a couple of days. And he like, yeah, I mean, I'll just say it. We hooked up because I feel like people should, like, you know, I feel
my
like
lips are sealed.
Other people do it. Other people like listening to this might be like, I've hooked up with an ex. What do you think about that? Although no one asked us about it. We hooked up, and that like didn't bring back feelings for him. It wasn't like all of a sudden I was like, oh, I miss him and I, you know, love him again or something like that. I mean, I always have love for him, but it just was hard. Like I was like out of sorts for a couple of days where I just felt like anxious and like my emotions were a little funky, and then it was better. So I don't know what exactly to touch on that subject, but I think that just know that it's normal, and that it doesn't mean that you made the wrong decision. It just means that like you're a human who has emotions, and that relationship meant a lot to you and maybe still does. And whether you like still have hope for it or you don't, like just know that like grief, like if that person, or if someone in your life had died and they're on their birthday, all of a sudden you felt a wave of grief, you wouldn't question it. So like if something comes up with an ex, whether you see them or like you just have a fleeting thought about them and it kind of turns into a wave of grief, just like let that wash over you. It's okay. It's normal. Yeah, go listen to like a wave podcast, like an ASMR or something, and visualize that ex memory or something washing over you and then receding back into the Atlantic.
Agree.
Next one
is, are there folks you never get over?
I actually kind of think so.
I think so too, but I think
she's just got a fist
I'm like
in the air.
posticulating. I just mixed postulating with gesticulating. Anyway, I feel like I'm like pointing like a pop star with the microphone.
You're very like animated right now. You've got something to say, I can tell.
I feel like, so do you guys remember our episode where we talked about how, weirdly enough, it's harder to get over people who you didn't fully get to live out a relationship with?
It was an episode called On Heartbreak. Just so you know.
Hell yeah. So I feel like, ironically, those can be the people you never get over.
Yes.
People who you don't have closure with, who you didn't resolve the situation. So it feels like the door is not closed, so you can't lock it and walk away.
Yep.
So yeah, I think, there are people you never get over.
And I think sometimes what you don't get over, again, is the idea of them.
Yes.
The thought that you didn't get to have that time with them,
mm-hmm.
I think can really bother you. And also, you know, I don't know if, I know the person who asked this, and so I don't know if this is what she has in mind, but if you go through a traumatic situation with someone, I haven't been through that, but if you were in a relationship with someone that was traumatic to you in any way, I believe that you could not, that you might not get over it until you get over the trauma.
Yeah.
And like you might link that person and be like, I'm not over that person, or I'm not over the idea of that person. But really what it is you're not over the trauma of that relationship, whether it was, you know, lies and deceit, or whether it was like being cheated on,
any
or
kind of abuse,
or
yeah,
whatever it was, abuse of trust.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's part of getting over someone is either forgiving or working through whatever trauma, micro or macro, that it caused to you and your psyche.
Yeah.
And I think like really that's what it comes down to. It all is just like unresolved trauma. Like even when I think about someone who I really liked at the beginning of college, I think it was traumatic to me at the time because I had never experienced being dragged around like that. I'd never experienced someone like giving themselves to me and then pulling away and then giving and then pulling away. And like, so at the time, I feel like it was kind of like, and I just happened to be in a vulnerable time in life anyway because of my own anxiety and whatnot. So I think it would like, it kind of ended up setting this like, it like made like a setting in my body, like a specific anxious setting for when guys do this thing.
Yeah, because trauma like lives in you physically.
Right. And trauma is not always this monumental or like criminal thing. It's like, it can be small. It can be, but like something that just sort of like pierces you in a certain way. And so like, it took me years to get over that person. And it wasn't even to say like, I was in a happy relationship in the meantime and was still like in a way getting over that person because I had fears like about my relationship because of that person and because of like how I was treated. So I don't know. I think some people you don't get over.
Yeah.
A quick one. What's the ratio of I can't believe we dated to yeah, that makes sense? For me, it's like 1 to 3. 1 to 5. I won't say which way.
Oh, I will just say I'll use the term dated loosely because I only had one relationship, but I have like dated a lot. And I honestly think I can find a reason that like everybody is like, yeah, that makes sense for me. Like, yeah, it makes sense that I was drawn to that.
I'm using like a loose, like I have not been in a relationship with 5 people.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I know me. I'd be doing that. I know what I'm drawn to. I know my type.
I'd be back on that bullshit.
Yeah.
How does social... Oh, sorry. It's your turn.
How does social media play into things for you when trying to get over a crush or relationship?
Plays into it too much, I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's hard not to like check up on someone or to wonder if they're checking up on you. Even right now, I'm like, who's going to listen to this podcast? Like, I don't think anyone I've talked about on this podcast is going to listen to it, except maybe one person. But it's, it plays a role.
It makes it really hard to have a clean break.
Definitely.
If either you have an online presence that you think they might be able to look at, or they have an online presence that you're looking at.
Yep.
Either way, it can cause someone to linger in your life unnecessarily.
I recently said on this episode, maybe the one before, like it keeps you connected to things that you're not supposed to be connected to.
Yeah.
That's truly how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Is it normal to think about an ex sometimes, even though you're over them? Sometimes I just wonder what he's up to, but I'm very happy in my current relationship. Yeah, I mean, I think it's normal. Well, I'll let you go first.
I think that's like, I mean, you could be thinking about them for a myriad of ways. Like it could be that it's like a sudden wave of grief, like we've talked about, or like the ebbing and flowing of getting over them or whatever. Or it could also just be that you're like genuinely curious from a human standpoint about like how they're doing. And in general, it all is very human to like have someone be involved in your life and make an impact on you. You're probably not going to like never think of them ever again. Yeah.
I mean, I even just said that there was someone on my mind when I was in a relationship that I was still kind of like getting over. Not like nothing happened with that person before. Like it was just like a crush I had that he like sometimes acted like he liked me back and then other times didn't. But like we never even kissed. Like nothing happened. It was just like, again, like the idea of it happening and like this unrequited thing that left me like feeling like overwhelmed. And I would like think about like I would see him at school and whatnot. So I would like be forced to then be like, oh yeah, that was a time, and like think about him, not in a way that I necessarily wanted to be with him or anything. And I did feel guilty about it when I was in my relationship. I was like, oh my gosh, like why am I thinking about this other person? Like why does it still bother me that they treated me badly? Like blah blah blah. I definitely felt a lot of guilt about it, but I think that like I would talk to friends about it and they'd be like, it's just because it's unresolved. It's just because to you it didn't it has not, like, they're actually just two separate things, like your current relationship and like whatever that last kid was. So in your case, like whoever your last ex was, like they're two different things, and both can take up space in your brain.
Yeah, and even if it's a situation where it was resolved and they're popping up in your brain, it could just mean you cared about them.
Yeah, you know? It's funny because I think that we tend to, because we're like raised in a monogamous relationship society, I think that we can only have one romantic relationship, and like that one relationship is supposed to be all fulfilling, and
you're devoted
and that you don't think about anything else when you find like the one, or when you're happy in your relationship. But like, we have different friends for different reasons, and we wouldn't, like, I'm never like, oh my God, Marissa's my best friend, but I'm thinking about my other friends. Like, you don't think like that. So it's like, but for some reason, because we're like supposed to be monogamous in relationships, we're like, oh my God, I can't be thinking about any other person that I'm attracted to, like any other, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it could be more than just a man or a woman. Like, I shouldn't be thinking about an ex or
someone I was previously involved with.
Yeah, someone I was previously involved with, someone I am attracted to, like, but like, come on, like, people, you can have more than one crush. You're a very multifaceted human being. You're allowed to like have a crush on Patrick Dempsey and be happy in your relationship. You're allowed to think about your ex with fondness and be in love in your current relationship. All those things. You're allowed good things. Slams down gavel. So that's it. This is kind of a getting longish episode. But I love that last question because it's kind of like, I think of it almost as like sort of advice based. Like it reminds me of something you would sit in a room, and it reminds me of something that I sat in a room and asked friends about. And so it's fun to answer these questions.
And all we ever want to be is the friends in the room with you.
Our friends.
Again,
Amen.
full circle, friends and listeners and friends.
Yeah, we really enjoyed doing this, you guys, and thank you so much for sending in questions. You know what? Tell someone about this podcast today. Get the word out. We need more friends. This is great. This is some great shit we have going on here. Let's boost that following. Let's get more cues. Get more people part of this family. No, but really, I love like our small podcast family. I just feel like it's like sweet.
Yeah, we do be loving you guys.
Okay. Have a good day or night wherever you are. And we really need to come up with an outro.
Wherever you are, there you are.
But that's like negative, but okay. Well, I guess it could be a pot. Okay. Good night. Bye.